tools. There are tracers. There are tracers in the blue basket in the bottom middle of that cabinet there. I just grabbed a few different things here to show you a few simple ways of creating a symmetrical design. So, one way, I'm just going to use this biggest circle on this guy here, actually. We'll do that. If you're talking, can you turn off your voice for just like about 4 minutes? Thanks. One way of creating a symmetrical design is creating some guidelines for yourself. So if I take a circle and I place it right over the center of my color wheel, I'm not going to necessarily keep this as a layer in my design. It just helps me to kind of make sure that I'm in the right spot each time I shift over to the next triangle. Because otherwise what might happen is maybe we start with a semicircle here and then it comes up a little bit each time and it ends up at the top of the triangle by the time you make it around, okay? So this just kind of helps you stay on track, stay in the right place. So creating kind of a guideline is helpful. So now I'm just going to use this circle and I'm just going to do a semicircle. So I'm making sure I'm going to use half that circle to trace and I'm making sure it's resting right on top of that guideline circle that I just drew in. I'm just going to do a semicircle in each one. So this is one way to create your design, is by sliding it over. So you're doing exactly the same pie slice every time. You're drawing exactly the same details in exactly the same places and you're trying to make them the same size. So you would just slide it over, create your next one and make your way around the circle. So I'm making sure that this line is running right through the middle of the circle and this circle is setting right on that guide circle that I drew. So I would make my way around. We want 7 different spaces on our final design. So this would not be enough. This only gives me, if I kept that guide circle, it gives me 1, 2, 3 spaces. So I need 4 more. So that's one way of creating a design. Another way of creating a design, I'm going to start with that same guide circle, just to kind of help make sure that everything's in the right spot. Just gives me a frame of reference. Help me stay on the right track. Okay, now another way to create this design is by drawing, I'm going to do the exact same design, but this now becomes a line of symmetry. So this design is going to flip and be the mirror image in the one next door. So it's going to flip over each of these access points to create its own little line of symmetry. So what will happen here is it flips to the opposite side of this guy. There we go. Then it's going to flip to the opposite side again, so this actually creates a full circle in every other section. So then it flips to the opposite side, so now it skips over to the other side here. And now it flips over here, so now this is the full circle again. So it flips over, now it's on the opposite side. But we can actually draw that full circle. So we're just skipping every other one. So this is what it ends up being. Because that semicircle ends up becoming a full circle as it flips over that line of symmetry. Does that make sense? So if I had a triangle here, this would become another shape that would flip. Sorry, I'm drawing on fabric, so it got a little weird, but you get the idea? Okay, the third way we can create a design is by making each pie slice itself, making that pie slice symmetrical. So we can do that guide circle again, but if we're actually creating a symmetrical design within each pie slice, another helpful thing to do is to draw yourself a halfway point. Draw yourself a line of symmetry. These 2 details we might not keep. They might get erased. They're just to kind of help us to see where things should go as we draw them in. So I'm just going to draw a few of these so you can see what I'm doing here. Let me put this underneath so that bumpy fabric isn't causing me trouble. Okay, so if I want to create a completely symmetrical design, it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It could just be as simple as a little triangle. I don't think that's perfectly symmetrical. Just gonna use that as a straight edge. So we could do a little triangle, like a little arrow line, I guess. Just like an angle pointing up. I don't have that in the same spot on both sides. What would happen, I'm just gonna freehand this because it's gonna take too much time to do it with that, and I don't really care because this is just a sketch. But it would end up looking something like this and creating kind of like a starburst or a sunburst pattern in the center. You can see how it would create a design. So my other two designs were asymmetrical. This one is symmetrical, so it's going to create a very nice flow, and it will create some cool layers and designs, kind of in a different way. Okay? So if we think we're done, we want to make sure we've got 7. If I kept those guidelines, let's see how many this would give me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. So if I kept those guidelines, that could be my design. That gives me enough sections to paint inside of. We're going to be using a color plus water to create tints by changing the intensity with how much water we add to that color, which we'll go over maybe partway through class today. So we've got 3 different options. Each pie slice is symmetrical. We're flipping our design each time and creating a line of symmetry between the pie slices. But the actual pie slice itself is asymmetrical design. It's not the same on both sides. Or another asymmetrical design, but instead of flipping it each time, we just slide it over and draw it exactly the same. Those are your 3 options. Okay? Hopefully that helped you.